Hi, everyone. This is Neil Douglas, American Truth Finders. I'm going to start the show off a little different tonight. Well, I say a little different. It's not really different. I'm just going to start it in a way that I hadn't planned. I hope you'll share this video, the show tonight. I hope you'll take part in the comments and conversation. Somebody say hi to me so I know if my mic is working and if the camera is working. It says it's live, but then, hey, who knows? With technology today, anything can happen. But if you're watching and you can hear me, please say hi. And for those of you that are going to be joining as we go along, I certainly hope that you will share this video or this live broadcast because it's your show. I want you to comment. So somebody tell me, I know I see two, it says I've got 3 people showing. Somebody say hi to me so I know that my mic is working and the camera is working good. I want to make sure that before I get too far involved here. And if I sound like my throat is a little bit rough, it is. It's dry. And I'll tell you what. But I'm going to start off tonight because I've got so much to cover. Hi, Janet Blazin. Thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate it. I'm going to start off something tonight that maybe you are aware. Joanne Olson, hello. Lori Cotto, hello. Hey, I'm glad people are watching. I'm glad, at least I know my microphone's working. Evelyn, thank you so much for joining me. I tell you what, I'm hoping that we get more on because, matter of fact, I think we will because there's a lot we're going to discuss tonight. I'm going to try to get through it as fast as possible, but I want your comments if you can. I'm starting off different tonight in this respect. And please overlook me if I'm reading because just like on radio or just like you see on some of the commentators on TV, they do have to read their material. I don't have a teleprompter, so otherwise I would use that, but I don't have that. Do not have that available. Lisa Anderson, hi. I'm glad you could join us. I really am. I'm going to cover so much tonight, and I hope I can get it all in. If not, we're going to continue this coronavirus issue. I'm starting it off tonight by. I want you to think back. For those of you that can remember this, just you say so, or if you've read about it or heard about it, say something about it. Okay? How differently we treated the Hong Kong flu pandemic in 1968. First of all, does anybody remember the Hong Kong flu pandemic? Because, you know, as with other pandemics, it was named after the presumed place of its origin. And as with other pandemics, until this one, the number of cases and number of deaths were estimated. I'm saying that because I really don't think that we really truly know the true amount of deaths as far as the coronavirus. That's my personal opinion. And they weren't counting everyone, adding in presumed cases, or adding anyone that had it but didn't die of it. Now, this was the Hong Kong flu. Now, I want you to keep with me on this because this is interesting, and I'm doing this on purpose to compare this to the coronavirus of today. But what's interesting, given the reaction to the present pandemic, is the reaction to the one in 1968. There were 1 million estimated killed worldwide. And that was the Hong Kong flu in 1968. That was 100,000 killed in the United States, or excuse me, worldwide. There was 1 million estimated worldwide, with 100,000 in the United States. Now there were no lockdowns. Are you watching or listening? Joanne Olson says that no, Neil, I don't remember the Hong Kong flu. I was a teenager. Well, being a teenager, I might have been one too at that time. But the point is, at teenagers, we didn't care about that kind of stuff. But going on, it says 100,000 were killed in the United States. There were no lockdowns, nor stay-at-home orders, although there were hygienic measures like social distancing and washing hands that were encouraged. Now this is okay from the Daily Wire. The Wall Street Journal explained that the novel virus triggered a state of emergency in New York City, and caused many deaths in Berlin, and so on and so forth. Now I want to jump down because it says that John Thund notes that the National Review, the Hong Kong flu was especially infectious virus, that it had the ability to mutate and render existing vaccines. We're getting into vaccines because we're going to get into vaccines as soon as we possibly can. Let's see. Janice says, hi, Dee. Jeff Withers, hey, Neil. Good to hear you. See, it's been a while. Well, it sure has, Jeff. I'm glad you could join us. All right. I want to go on here. Hundreds of thousands were hospitalized in the U.S., and the disease hit all 50 states by Christmas 1968. Like the COVID-19, it was fatal to primarily to people older than 65 rather than pre-existing conditions, or that had pre-existing conditions. So, okay, I wanted to mention that to you because a vaccine was developed quickly by 1969, although the virus H3N2 still circulates as influenza A. I wanted to open up with that because I wanted you to understand this virus of 1968, the Hong Kong flu of 1968, was very, very much similar to the coronavirus as it is today. And because we really truly don't know all the numbers. Now, I'm going to cover some things before I get into the vaccines because we're going to get into vaccines. Please stay with me, bear with me, throw your comments. I know people are going to come and go because they have things to do or they got to get to bed or whatever the case is, but here's what's happening. Right now, 100,000 U.S. deaths from COVID virus. How does that compare to SARS, swine flu, or other pandemics? I'm bringing these up too because of the fact this is important information to compare the coronavirus versus, for instance, the swine flu. The nation's most recent was 2009 when the H1N1 virus called the swine flu appeared in the U.S. and spread quickly across the world. This H1N1 virus contained, and I'm sorry if I make too much noise with my paper turning, but I've got to do it, contained a unique combination of influenza genes not previously identified in animals or people. And so here we go. Now, this is according to the Centers of Disease and Control Prevention. According to the CDC, from April 2009 and April 2010, there were about 60.8 million cases of the swine flu, with 12,469 deaths in the United States. All right. I'm going to continue reading on, but I do want to make sure I get to your comments. Jeff says, seems to me all these viruses are coronaviruses. I believe they are, Jeff, and in one type or another, and they're all similar. At the same name, coronavirus is paired with all of them or pasted with all of them. It truly is, and I think all of you know that. Now, let's go on here because unlike the COVID-19, swine flu targeted the younger population, with health officials had little or no existing immunity. Okay, they said they had little or no existing immunity. Nearly 1/3 of the people over 60 had antibodies against the virus, according to the CDC. And these people are likely to be exposed to an older version of the virus that may have that saved their lives. Since the swine flu was very different from the seasonal influenza, vaccinations with flu vaccines offered little protection. Now, it goes on to say that after the peak of the illness in the United States, a vaccine to the strain of the H1N1 was produced. Now, remember H1N1? That was what, about 2005? I believe it was, right around in there, maybe 2009. Anyway, that's according to the CDC. The swine flu, people are still infected with hospitalized and die from the swine flu. So, wait a minute. Did you understand and did you hear me clearly? Because sometimes I get my voice does change. People are still infected and hospital and died not died, with the swine flu. Could that be a connection also with coronavirus? I don't know. I want to get into some of that. Severe acute respiratory, this is SARS now. Remember the SARS? SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, that is SARS, which spread around the globe in 2003, was a respiratory illness caused by a coronavirus, going back to what Jeff just posted, similar to COVID-19. Now, and again, first reported in Asia. Isn't this something that these are coming from Asia? Is there something behind all of this? And I'm not trying to start a conspiracy. I want you to think. I want you to do some research. And I want you to question. I want you to say whatever. I said that I'm going to go on and say that SARS is was spread to more than 20 countries. According to the World Health Organization, 8,098 people worldwide became sick with SARS during and 714 people died. The CDC said only 8 students in the United States had laboratory confirmed as SARS, and there were no SARS-related deaths in this country. So we did have some sort of vaccine or whatever. But I want to go back on this particular issue, and please forgive me for reading, people, but I want you to know I'm not making these stories up. And for the Facebook police, do your research, because these stories are factual. They're coming from the CDC. They're coming from very factual sources. I'm not making conspiracies. So for the just in case the Facebook police want to question anything. But going back to one thing again, I'm noticing something, and that's the reason I brought this up to begin with, to start the show off, was where these infections have seemed to come from. I question the possibility, even to be honest, that did coronavirus also come from within the United States, maybe from one of the universities, through the help of China, or whatever, because wherever these viruses are coming from, they spread darn fast. I mean, very fast, and people die from them very fast, and some people get over them without even knowing they had it. Something's very odd about this. We're going to dig in about this. We're going to dig into to a few things. Next thing I want to do before I get into vaccines, because I want you to hear about the vaccines. Please stay with me on the vaccines. First of all, I want to tell you that 5 states have grant businesses immunity from liability of the coronavirus claim. You know what that means? If you get the virus vaccine, businesses that tell you you have to get it are immune from any kind of liable suit if you get sick from the vaccine or if something, or if that vaccine doesn't work for you. And I'm going to tell you the states real quick in case if some of you live in them. And I'm not done by any means with this, but I'm going to start. Louisiana. I'm not going to go into a bunch of details. North Carolina, Oklahoma. These are states that are making businesses immune. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up, I wanted to tell you, is because they are concerned that businesses are going to be sued if they force you to have the virus, COVID virus vaccine when it becomes available. Like whether the protective cover essentially covers essentially businesses that have kept our lives going, like grocery, transportation, takeout food, utilities, throughout, the shelters, places that require people to be safe. Okay. Mikhail, hey, how are you? I'm glad you could join us. Anyway, as I said, Louisiana, Oklahoma. Did I say Oklahoma? I got to make sure. Yeah, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Wyoming. Those are the 5 states. Oh, excuse me, in Utah right now that are protecting businesses, these kind of businesses, from being sued by you if you get the COVID virus vaccine and something happens. Now, 2 other states, Arizona is one of them. They're considering any person who operates or owns a business in Arizona is not liable for COVID infections in persons who've entered their or remained at their business. Okay, this is protecting businesses. Now the other state is Kansas. The Kansas governor voted that, or the Kansas governor enacted the Coronavirus Response Reopening Business Liability Protection Act. I understand what they're doing there. They're taking the blame off the government, off their own state government, as to by saying we'll not allow you to sue certain businesses as far as the vaccine's concerned. Now, here's one that I want you to think about. The Supreme Court rules in favor of protecting vaccine makers from state lawsuits. Now, this is a totally different ballgame. Totally different ballgame. Audrey, how are you? I'm glad you could join us. It's all right that you're a little late. Listen, I've been late before. I think I was late getting started tonight. But I'm glad you're here. I hope that you're sharing this so your other friends can see it, even if they don't participate. I hope that they will watch this video. This is very important. We're going to get into some heavy duty stuff, and if you have any comments, please tell me, because we're going to, I know I'm doing a lot of talking right now, but the reason I am is because there are some important things here. In a 57 opinion written by Justice Scalia. Now, this is back in 86, I believe. Anyway, the Supreme Court explained that the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986 permits all design defect claims against vaccine manufacturers. And guess what? Carlos, hey, do we have to sign a waiver first? At this point, that's a good question. That's an excellent question, Carlos. I have to tell you, there has not been anything that I've found yet as a waiver, because I'm not sure, according to the Supreme Court, whether or not a waiver is even going to, make a big difference. But if I go back to what Scalia said, that he claims that you can't bring anything brought against the manufacturers brought by plaintiffs seeking compensation for injury or death caused by vaccinations or side effects. Now, we've got, and you know, we've got a vaccine warp speed going on right now, and we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the cost. We're going to get into the companies that are doing it. And the reason I want to do all of this is because of the fact warp speed means exactly that. They're trying to get this done before the end of the year. The average time for a vaccine is anywhere from 12 to 18 months, and some of them can be longer. With medicines, it can be years, you know, for pill medications, etc. Now, the court's decision was 6-2 in that particular situation. The conclusion was supported by the fact that although products liability law establishes these grounds for liability, defective manufacturing, inadequate directions, and warnings, even if they don't have the proper warnings in them, it protects them. The vaccine companies, if they don't have that actually includes, I believe, any medication, because they all have these medication pamphlets that tell you the warnings and so on and so forth. But if they have faulty or inadequate warnings or directions, the Act mentions only manufacture and warnings. It seems that this Act's failure, here I go being unprofessional again, switching pages, failures to mention design effect liability is by deliberate choice and not inadvertence. Inadvertence. The opinion further explained the design effects do not merit a single mention of the Act or in the food or the FDA regulations that previously regulate drug manufacturing process. The Supreme Court went on to say the lack of guidance for design effects combined with extensive evidence for the two liability grounds specifically mentioned in the Act strongly suggests that design defects were not mentioned because they are not a basis for liability. What do you think? CJ says we will have a vaccine about at our own risk. Or will we have a vaccine at our own risk? I'm going to get into that because this is another topic that I'm bringing up. I hope you stick with me because I'm telling you, people, this is getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the situation of the coronavirus, the vaccine. What's the dark side of this whole thing? I don't like to use the term, but I have used it in the past, and I'll continue to use it until I get to the bottom of it. The state of Idaho says no prescription for chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine may be dispensed except for the following may apply. The prescription bears a written diagnosis from the prescriber consistent with the evidence for its use. The prescription is limited to no more than a 14-day supply unless the patient was previously had been established on it, like people who have lupus, and I'm sure many of you know people who have had lupus, or maybe malaria, whatever the case might be. No refills may be permitted unless a new prescription is furnished. That makes sense because that's just like any type of prescription that nobody wants to get overdosed on, because anybody can get sick on taking too much of anything. Jeff Withers says no, or wait a minute, not if Bill Gates goes with what he wants. There's no doubt. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to get into a little bit of Bill Gates here in a little bit. But wait a minute. I'm going back to Idaho because think about this. This could happen in your state as well. On March 18th, Idaho's Governor Bill Brad Little, restricted pharmacists from dispensing hydroxychloroquine for off-label use. Since that time, 217 Idahoans, I don't know, did I say that? People that live in Ohio, in Idaho, I'll make it simple for myself too, have died from the COVID-related deaths, many of them without the choice to be treated with zinc and hydroxychloroquine. Suddenly, Governor Little is calling a special session of Idaho's part-time legislature to address liability confirmed during emergencies. Documents obtained by this writer that wrote this article show an objective for the special session to be established immunity from civil liability. In other words, why did the governor block? I mean, I can go back and tell you that because the people in Idaho are asking, is immunity from what? What is the immunity from? They want to know. Why did Governor, and the other question that they want, and the writer even says this, why did Governor Little block the use of hydroxychloroquine for off-label use the day before it became an issue at the National Coronavirus Press Briefing? Did he know something that we don't know? Or that nobody else knew? Did he know something? Before I go on with this, I don't want to lose anybody here. He wants to vaccinate everyone. You're talking about Bill Gates, and you're absolutely right about that. Janet says, I need to turn in, but this is something to think about. The truth will set you free. That's why they keep censoring it. Thanks, Janet, because that's absolutely true. I really appreciate that you've joined us tonight. I know that you do have to go early because I know your schedule because you have been on the show before and pretty much on. And Jeff says, replying to CJ, been on it, or be on it, or is that right? No, bet on it. Excuse me. It's my glasses, people. I'm telling you, it's my glasses. Anyway, okay, going on. Since when does a governor get to tell doctors what they can and cannot prescribe? I've asked that question myself. Is it not, okay, the doctor and the patient decide, I need this medication. The pharmaceutical or the pharmacy department, the pharmacy and drug departments of each state, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, the board, the pharmaceutical board is what I want to say, is they're saying what you can and cannot do. A governor can override that. A governor can override that. I'm telling you that right now. Keith Coons. Hi, Neil. Hey, Keith, welcome aboard. I'm glad you could join us. If you got any comments, please let us know what's going on. Audrey, this might be off topic, but speaking of Bill Gates, why is Donald Trump trying to get Microsoft to buy TikTok? My understanding on the TikTok situation, Audrey, and I'll get into that maybe on a different show, but I can tell you what's going on. They figured out that TikTok is a China-owned corporation that can be very dangerous in spying on everybody, stealing information from anybody and everybody, and using it against them, and even including somehow or another people that might be working in the government. And now I understand that even some businesses are not even allowing people to have TikTok on their phone. But we'll get into that on another show, Audrey. That's a good point. Trust me, it is. Jason Myers. Hey, Jason Myers. Exactly, Neil. I'm not sure what it's exactly, but anyway. And Jason goes on to say, hi, Uncle Keith. Well, I guess you guys are related. Either that or you call him Uncle, because you did say LOL. All right. Francesca. I said it right that time, did I not? I'm glad you could join us. And Jason says, hi, Bruno. It is Francesca. Um, and she goes on to say, TikTok needs to go. You're right. There's a lot that need to go, especially with that. Uh, uh, but I want to continue, if it's okay with you. We'll get back to TikTok if we have time, or maybe we can do it on another show. But let's think about this one. We're going about this situation of Idaho and why this governor won't let the doctors and the patients have their rights. He is, I believe, back to the 14 day, but I won't swear to that. Said now this, I don't have the date of this. I don't believe. All I've got is the bill, and I don't have the date when this was done. And I'm sorry if I fade away when I turn my head away from the. I did do it right. Thank you, Francesca. But it said yesterday the board conducted an emergency meeting and approved the following language at the request of the governor. The new temporary rule effectively and immediately. The governor had the State Board of Pharmacy meet for a special session, and at the government's request, hydroxychloroquine was restricted before it became controversial. On March 26, Idaho State Board of Pharmacy also restricted the use of zithromycin. How many of you have been on zithromycin? Raise your hand. Because I got to tell you something. I've been on it so many times, it's unreal, because of sinus issues, because of allergies, upper bronchial, respiratory, whatever. But the state board has restricted the use of zithromycin. This is in Idaho, using almost identical wording. These rules stayed in place until the board pharmacy rescinded them on June 11th. It goes on to say that this writer has spoken with several medical doctors, including emergency room physicians, and all said never in their decades of medical practice had they seen any drug be restricted for off-label use. This is what happened to Dr. Gold. She got fired from 2 hospitals because she was talking openly about hydroxychloroquine. Francesca, you use the term Z-Pak. I usually do too. That's what that is. For those that might not know what zithromycin is. Thank you for that. But how many of you have used? I mean, I'm sure you've used zithromycin at one time or another if you've had any kind of infection. Now I'm going on with this Idaho thing, and the reason I am is for one reason only, and you'll find out what it is. But anyway, a non-representative for the governor of Idaho said that attempts have been made by the executive director of the Health Freedom of Idaho to meet with the Governor Little, since the COVID crisis began, but the governor has remained reclusive and generally unavailable to people wanting to talk with him. It's been only recently the governor has appeared on a morning talk show host in Boise, where questions are highly regulated. Well, that sounds like a police state, if you ask me. C.J. Carls, I used it and it worked good for me. Good work for the flu. Exactly. That's my whole point. People have used it for not just upper respiratory. Well, that's what the flu is an upper respiratory. But the point I'm getting at is many people have used it. I'm glad you brought that up, that you did, CJ, because I'm telling you something. It's going to get deeper than this. We're not stopping here. And anyway, the writer goes on to say in a conversation they have with a high-ranking state official who chooses to remain anonymous. Governor Little has described it's undergoing a Jekyll-Hyde conversation with COVID uh, when COVID came to town. He went from governing like a solid conservative to bending his knee to a medical establishment. Can I tell you something? And I'm not going to finish the rest of this because the point I was getting at. Oh, wait, one more thing. The governor of Idaho is also seeking immunity. He doesn't want to be sued. The census among many of the people in Idaho is that Governor Little would not be seeking immunity unless his lawyers are telling him to do so. And I don't need to go into anything further on that. This is for anybody who lives in, does anybody live in Idaho? I don't even know, that's watching. If you are, say something. And if not, if you're going to watch the video later, I mean, tell me. Now, I hope you're all sitting because this one should really, really, really set your hat on fire. Francesca, well, you guys can read that. Francesca said hi to Jason. States have the authority to fine or jail people who refuse the coronavirus vaccine, an attorney says. Now, I'm going to repeat what I just said because I didn't stumble and I didn't stutter. The Idaho governor, Lisa, is a Republican. And that is unexpected. Jeff says, I would be surprised if the so-called pandemic or epidemic or pandemic, let me get back to where that's at, lasted more than a day or two past the election in November. You know, I've heard that so many times it's unreal. I know you've got the laugh out loud, but you're not the first, by all means, that have said the same thing. And I think that would be regardless who's elected. I'm not going to play politics here right now. Audrey says Viagra was the first used for the heart, and they found out that it had another use. And you're right about that. There you go. There you go. And I'm taking a medication, the same thing that's done for something else that we're supposed to work for my lungs. This works for my lungs, but I've started it for some other reason. I don't even remember what it was. But going back to this, now listen to this very carefully, people, because this can involve each of you. No matter what state you live in. States have the authority to file or jail people who refuse the coronavirus vaccine, according to an attorney. And this is in San Diego. As drug makers race to develop a vaccine against coronavirus, several legal questions are emerging. Could the government require people to get it? Could people who refuse it roll up their sleeves, get banned from stores, or lose their jobs? You better get people to share this right now. You better share this right now because I'm going to get into this. The short answer is yes. According to Dov Fox, a law professor and director of Center of Health Law Policy and biotechs at the University of San Diego. States can compel vaccines in more or less intrusive ways, he said in an interview. They can limit access to schools, services, or jobs if people don't get vaccinated. This sounds almost like Bill Gates. I'm just talking my own self here. They could force them to pay a fine and even lock them up in jail if you don't take the vaccine. Lori, how are you? I'm glad you could join us. They are taking drastic measures in Australia, locking people down. Are you referring to the lockdown itself, Lori, like what's happened here in the U.S.? Because this is locking people up. They're talking about putting people in jail. Anyway, it goes on to say that Fox noted authorities in the United States have never attempted to jail people for refusing to vaccinate. But other countries like France have adopted that aggressive tactic. Does that mean that we're going to adopt it too because France did? Are we going to adopt everything that every other country does? Seems like that we're late. We're headed that direction. I mean, I could be wrong. CJ says the government can't even fine people for not wearing masks. They leave that up to the states, from what my understanding is, CJ, but these are states. The government itself, federal government, can't. The federal government, that would be an executive order, almost like a martial law. And I'm not an attorney, but that's just how I'm interpreting this. Now I want to go on with this because this could affect your state. This is not a long article. For noted authorities in the United States, I already read that part about France. Okay, the legal precedent dates back to the 1905 in a landmark U.S. Supreme Court case, Jacobson versus Massachusetts. Now, I have read this. I'm not going to read the case itself, but I have read this case. The court ruled that Massachusetts had the authority to fine people who refused vaccines for smallpox. So it goes all the way back to 2005, or 1905, excuse me, over 100 years ago, with the smallpox. Lockdown in homes, Lori says. Yes, planes means sensors coming from China. Wait a minute. Mia's sensors coming from China. Now, I have to be honest. Are you referring to the sensors that will tell people, let people know that they, what's the word I want to say? That they have the virus, Lori? If so, explain that to me a little bit, and explain it to our audience. Doris Roberts, they can go to hell. Well, guess what? The case went on, formed the legal basis for vaccine requirements at schools, and it has been upheld in subsequent decisions. Guests or courts have found out that when medical necessity requires it, the public outweighs the individual rights and liberties at stake. Fox said under the 1964 Civil Rights Act, employers are not required to accommodate religious employees in doing so. It would pose more than a problem or a minimal cost. Employers are not required to accommodate religious employees. According to 1964 Civil Rights Act. What do you think that means? That employers do not have to accommodate people with religious rights. That, for instance, if somebody does not believe in going to war because of their religious beliefs, or if somebody does not believe in taking medications. Now, I've seen many cases where people have been put in jail because their child died or whatever, because of their religious faith, of whatever the situation might be. Because they didn't want to take them to a doctor, they had their beliefs, so they go to jail. They take the child away, put the child into the hands of CPS, and who knows where the child ends up. We can get into that another time. Now, Is mandatory vaccine legal in a time of epidemic? Now, I just read to you what I said about states, and this is from a medical law professor in San Diego. When SARS, we're going to imagine that, this article is very, very good, but listen to this. Imagine that Joseph, a 21-year-old student at a state university in Illinois, is spending 3 months in China for a summer study program abroad, which that does happen. That happens a lot where people go abroad for studying. And while he's there, a severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, breaks out in Canada and is traced back to China. Well, first of all, when SARS shows up in Canada, Illinois immediately creates a mandatory vaccine for all of those who are currently in China on certain areas of Canada, or all of those who plan to go there in the next few years. That they do that automatically. And then I'm going to go down. I'm going to try to get through this one as fast as I can. But before I do, there's some people who made some comments. Francesca, latest Trump presser, he said nothing about mandating a vaccine, but he said it won't be soon. It won't be soon, so the virus disappears soon. Wait a minute. Oh, they want it soon. Excuse me. Again, it's my glasses. You guys know that. It is true. I'm going. I had thought I had an appointment last week, but it's this week. They do want a vaccine soon. Now, Audrey says it means that they can fire them for not getting it. You're right, Audrey. That's what it means. We're talking about employers that they have the right to fire people with religious beliefs if they don't take the vaccine. Anyway, I'm going to make this short. The 14th Amendment asserts that no state shall make or enforce any law abridging the privileges on immunities of citizens of the United States or deprive them, any person, of life, liberty, and prosperity without due process of the law. The Supreme Court recognizes the 14th Amendment guarantee of the substantive due process that protects U.S. citizens against arbitrary legislation actions. Now, here's what's interesting. Essentially, though, this provision demands only minimal scrutiny national. Now, this is what I want you to really listen to, people. This is really what I want you to listen to. Scrutiny of rational review of the enacted legislation. The law need only be rationally related to the legitimate government purpose to be declared constitutional. Further, the Supreme Court has recognized each state's, are you ready? Police power, in quotations. Police power, which gives the state authority to enact health laws in every description, including quarantine and vaccine laws to protect its citizens. This is in 1905. It goes back to that, and I'm not going to repeat that particular one. But it says further, the Supreme Court has recognized each state's police power. And I'm going to tell you something. When determining the legality of the statute enacted to protect public health and safety, court, they found it immaterial that a portion of the medical community thought that vaccination worthless or even injurious. In other words, the Supreme Court has said that even doctors, people that are in the medical community, they have no control of this. They don't know as much as I guess the Supreme Court knows more. And I'm not putting down our Supreme Court or our government. I'm just saying I don't understand it. It's the way they're reading the law, and it's the way that they're voting on each particular law. You know, the state has the right to choose between opposing social theories and to refer to the matter as a board composed of persons residing in affected location who are qualified to make the determination. Well, to me, that would be the medical people. That would not be just any board. It would be medical people. That's my opinion. And it goes on to say, furthermore, it's immaterial whether or not the vaccine is actually effective, so long as the belief of the state authorities that mandate that the mandatory vaccine will promote common welfare and reasonable and proper exercise of police power. I love to say that word because that's exactly what's happening to our country. Is police state. I use the word police state. In other words, it doesn't matter whether the vaccine works or not. If the state says you have to take it, you have to take it. So going on to that student that went to China at the beginning of this article, consequently, our student Joseph does not have a valid argument against the mandatory vaccine. And by the way, it also says the vaccine would seriously impair health or probable cause death. That's part of this part where they said the state's Board of Health has the availability to tell you you have to take it, even if it causes death. Is that a death sentence that they're saying that they're putting on us? Consequently, our student didn't have a valid argument. Mandatory vaccination. It's established that the vaccination is to prevent the epidemic is well within police powers of Illinois. This is a fictitious story, but they're going by the law. Furthermore, he does not have a 14th Amendment liberty or due process argument because the vaccination is for the health and welfare of the state. Lastly, even if Joseph had a religious objection, it would not likely be dismissed because a compelling state interest may abridge religious freedom. Does this bother anybody? Does this really, help me out here. Francesca, it won't happen. Are you referring to the fact that you're not going to take the vaccine? I'm asking that question rather with tongue in cheek. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. Jeff, we're going to read what Jeff has to say. It's still used for blood pressure medicines. I think you're talking about. Are you talking about the Viagra, Jeff? Because I think does that have to do with blood pressure medicine that Audrey brought up earlier? Anyway, said it's still used for blood pressure medicine for people with some kind of lung problem. My wife's caregiver uses a low dose pill of it, and I wish I could remember the dosage and the I can't make that out. Maladay. And you're overlooking. Audrey says yes. Okay, Francesca, that too won't be mandated. Jeff says, got to run, Neil. Wife's home from her transfusion, and she wants me to be there. Hey, thanks so much, Jeff, for joining us. Thanks for your comments. I really appreciate it. And I hope that your wife is doing well and hope she will recover. God bless you and God bless your wife. Take care and be careful. Thanks again for joining us, Jeff. All right, now, I'm going to go on because the Council on Foreign Relations, which I have absolutely no use for, and the United States needs to get out of the Council of Foreign Relations, better known as the CFR, has said, what is the world doing to create a COVID-19 vaccine? Well, I'll tell you what, it's none of their business, to be honest with you. I'm not going to, other than the fact I'm just going to mention that the United States, China, Austria, United Kingdom, I know Germany's in here somewhere. Yeah, Germany was next. They're all part of creating a vaccine. Now, you want to get into who's in the vaccine business? You want to know? All right. Top vaccine players win a $2.1 billion warp speed funding for COVID-19 shot. Now they are Sanofi, GlaxoSmithKline, that's GSK for those of you that know them short. They're in warp speed. They're just one of the companies at $1.2 billion. Now, for example, Novavax has no product on the market. Moderna, and Moderna, by the way, is a Massachusetts company. After an initial $483 million grant, recently won extra $472 million from the BARDA, and BARDA is actually if I can find it, it's the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. So GlaxoSmithKline have partnered with doing that, and they got that $2.1 million. And what I'm trying to get at is I'm going to give you the names of the companies because you're going to be surprised at some of the companies that are involved. I want to go on to see what's going on here. Lori, she says, I say we fight against the vaccine no matter what, because what we have seen, this vaccine is not for COVID. It is to depopulate us. The numbers of the COVID are inflated to scare us into the vaccine. COVID is 5 grams, and wait a minute here, and there are towers and part of the 5G. I see you're talking about 5G. I've said 5 grams. Excuse me. Frequencies and let me I get lost here. And the towers and frequencies and weaponizing the towers. I'm sorry, but they want us dead. Well, they want to depopulate us. There's no doubt about that. I can't honestly. I know many people are trying to tie the 5G to the coronavirus. I honestly have not yet fit that into my brain. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying it's not true. I just, myself personally, and I respect your opinion, Lori, because you're not the only one, by all means. I get this a lot. Judy, hey Judy, how are you? I'm glad you could join us. You're all the way from Chicago. Floods in China, food shortages on the way. Oh boy. You know, it seems like, and I'm going to say it the way I look at it, and you can agree or disagree with me. Seems to me like God's trying to tell us something. God's trying to give us some kind of clue that we better get our act together. And I'm talking about the whole world, not just the United States. But that's my opinion. I'm not preaching. I'm not a theologian. I'm not on my bandwagon or soapbox or whatever you want to call it. But I think we're kind of being told, get your act together. I think we are. Doris Roberts says that I just read that you have a medical exemption. Wait a minute. I just read if you have a medical exemption, you didn't have to get the shot, and that's possible in Indiana. In Indiana, I don't know about Michigan or the surrounding states of Indiana, but the only reason I know that is because Indiana is the governor overrode the pharmaceutical board and said they can do the 14-day hydroxychloroquine and the Z-Pack. So, that's great. CJ, the vaccine company will be a good stock to buy. Something that that sounds a little humorous in a way, but actually I said the same thing. I said, for crying out loud, now's the time to buy vaccine stock if you want to get into the business of making some bucks. But I tell you what, about now, I think that whoever comes out with it first, you're going to be paying a high dollar. So anyway, yeah, you're right. I think that's what's going to happen. AstraZeneca has a 1.2 billion in Operation Warp Speed support from the University of Oxford. They're in on it. We've got right now, we've got Sanofi, GSK, AstraZeneca, and if my voice fades away when I turn away, I'm sorry. Here's one for you. Oh, and yes, thank you, Judy. Hi to you too. Francesca, Lori's right. Gates spoke about depopulating via vaccines, pharma, etc. at a conference. Yes, he did. But I believe and I pray while has grievance and should take over the situation, if not already. And yes, Neil, we all need to go back to God. Everybody now. I have to go along with that. I'm going to make a comment. I'm going to make a comment about this Bill Gates thing. Bill Gates has admitted we need to depopulate. He's also admitted on video, he said it, I've seen it, that we're going to need more than one vaccination for the COVID. Why? Let me tell you, Bill Gates is involved so much. He thinks he's a doctor now. He and his wife have got their foundation, and they are giving money right and left to pharmaceutical companies to build this vaccine. As far as the depopulation, there's no doubt about it. It's just like euthanasia. They're going to try to get rid of us somehow or another. I don't know honestly, Lori, though, if 5G is involved or not. It could be. I mean, because radio frequency can do a lot of things. The only reason I know about that is because of HAARP, HAARP. That was built by our government in Alaska to control the weather during a war. They sold the HAARP to Alaska, the University of Alaska, but they've got other HAARP stations all around the world, and they are radio frequency. Now, whether there's a connection between that and the 5G and the COVID, I don't know, but I'm telling you, I'm going to talk about Pfizer, Lisa. You better believe it. I gotta tell you. I've got some good information that you're going to really love. But here's something I think you'll be surprised with. Guess who else is getting into the pharmaceutical drug portion of the virus? It's far from business as usual at the Indianapolis headquarters of Eli Lilly, with only a sixth of the pharma company's employees working on site develop potential COVID virus treatments. Wall Street Journal has Peter Loftus takes us inside of Eli Lilly. But this is the one I wanted to tell you about. One-time photography leader is making the move with funding provided under the Defense Production Act, and that is Kodak. Remember the old camera company? Kodak. Kodak, then the Kodak film, the little things you used to put in the cameras, they're now getting into the pharmaceutical company along with Fuji. Fuji from Japan is getting into the pharmaceutical business to fight the COVID. Now, getting to Lisa's situation, Pfizer. Oh boy. Here we go. Wait, before we do, let's see here. Let me see here. I want to read. I want to catch up. Yeah, I already mentioned Lisa, and I'm glad everybody's here, and I'm glad you guys are commenting. This is making it so much easier for me. Francesca, yes, HAARP is being used now. Yes, they are, very much so. And I matter of fact, I interviewed somebody on my internet show when I had it, my internet radio show. I did interview somebody that did help build the first that HAARP in Alaska, and he was warned at the time. Not only him but everybody, that if they opened their mouth about it, they wouldn't live to talk about it. Well, Bill somehow or another has gotten away from it, but he's very sick because of it. I used his first name, Bill. I shouldn't have done that, but I did. But I didn't give you his last name. I don't want to get him involved. Joanne, Bill Gates is not a doctor. You're right. That's what I keep saying, and I want to know where his degree is. I also ask where is and this sounds political, but I'm being honest. Where is Nancy Pelosi's degree? Who thinks that she knows what we're supposed to do? And he's not a scientist, or even a college grad. That's right. He has a God complex. Dr. Fauci said that he didn't even guarantee the vaccine will work 50% of the time, and you're absolutely right, Joanne. 100% right, because I read the article. I saw the video. I saw it on video where Dr. Fauci said that. So did Dr. Britz. Dr. Britz, in a way, said it in a different way. She said that maybe the results, the numbers are 50% correct of who's got it and who doesn't have it, and even possibly the deaths. Because we don't know, and I'll say this, I'll repeat this over and over until you people tell me to shut up. But I have said, if somebody has the virus, they're in a motorcycle wreck and are killed, a car wreck and they're killed, or fall off a cliff and they're killed, the cause of death is the coronavirus. That's how it's reported. Don't ask me, do some research, okay? Don't trust anything I'm telling you, just do your research. So, Joanne says, so why would anybody want to take these odds? Well, you see, here's the thing that bothers me, and I don't want to get away from the Pfizer, because this is something that'll should really make you pull your hair out. But the point I'm getting at is how do we know what the long-term effect of the vaccine is? How do we know what the long-term effect of the vaccine is? We don't, because they're not even testing them on animals, and they're only testing them on humans. They're trying to do warp speed. Audrey says there is one HAARP that is in the UP. Well, if there is, Audrey, I'm going to be honest with you. It's been since I went to college up there, because that's where I went to. I went to University of Northern Michigan University. So if that's the case, it's been since then. I don't know what part of the UP it would be in, unless it's closer to Hancock, Houghton, Hancock area, possibly. I'm just guessing. Anyway, Francesca, Trump is finding news trustworthy companies to make our drugs here. Yeah, he is. He's definitely wanting to bring our companies here. That's why Moderna, I think I'm saying that right. I could be wrong. They're out of Massachusetts. They also have a plant in Indiana. I just read that. Anyway, Pfizer. Whenever it goes on to say, um, on a Friday, American drug maker Pfizer and its German um, partner BioNTech announced that they have a deal with Japan to provide 120 million doses of their leading vaccine candidate. It's called BNT 162B2. The financial details weren't disclosed, but terms were set based on the timing and the delivery and the volume of the doses and the companies and so on and so forth. Now, but under the deal, Pfizer and BioNTech are set to deploy their shots in Japan, approvals pending during the first half of 2021. Here's the situation. Here's the situation. They're warp speeding all over the world with this vaccine, and it's not. And I'm going to tell you, this is my own personal feeling. And you can agree or disagree with me because I respect anybody's opinion. But I'm going to tell you right here and now, it's not because they think it's going to help the vaccine as much or if they're going to try to save lives or not. It is all about the money. It's all about the money, and I'm going to prove that in just a minute here. Okay, Lori says she read that a vaccine will change your cells except for cancer cells. And the reason we don't have one, the reason we don't have cure for cancer, the reason we don't have a cure for cancer, question mark. I think we do have a cure for cancer, Lori. But do you realize how much money would be lost in the pharmaceutical and the medical business if there was a cure for cancer? Oh, there's a cure for some cancers because they've already done that. But to actually be able to eliminate cancer before it got to such a stage that it's too late, it's about the money. Pharmaceutical companies, look, they're out for the money. I don't care what they say, they're out for the money. I'm going to continue on here. Now, this was on, okay, here's what I want to read. Meanwhile, Pfizer and BioNTech have kicked off their own round of supply deals in recent weeks, starting with the commitment to the UK for 30 million vaccine doses over the next 2 years. Shortly after the UK was announced, the partners landed its $1.95 billion order for 100 million doses in the United States. In the United States, under the umbrella of the Trump administration's Operation Warp Speed vaccine program. The government also has the option to secure up to 500 million additional doses at a later date. News of the U.S. deal kicked off a fresh round of debates over the vaccine pricing and public health interests amid the pandemic. As long as COVID-19 cases remain on the rise, Pfizer will price the vaccine for broad distribution, said Angela Huang, group president for Pfizer Biopharmaceuticals, during a recent hearings, and goes on to say, but once COVID-19 vaccinations enter more stable seasonal phase, the company aims to enforce a more value-priced approach. In other words, they're going to get a big money right off the bat if they can. That's just part of Pfizer. I'm not done with them. Hang on a minute. I want to make sure I catch up on everybody. I think I've got, okay. All right, Lisa goes after Lori. Okay, depopulation through COVID, is that the elites want to get rid of they call the useless eaters especially black and brown people, but they are willing to take some whites too to get it done. I got that from Israel News live in on excuse me, is that on patron site recently? Biden made a recent statement about blacks and having the diversity of Hispanics, not having the diversity of. Yes, I remember that. The Democrats are extremely suppressing the HCQ use. The Democrats are fully being controlled by the racist Rothschild backers. They use blacks to get votes, but they want them dead, possibly. That's why they push the abortion too. Well, let me tell you, abortion clinics were started by a woman who was a Nazi and did not want black children to even be born. And you can research that one. It's because I have said that and I don't understand how. And I'm going to say something that maybe I shouldn't say to any of our brothers and sisters, black people and Hispanic people of any color. You have as much right as any white person walking. The problem is you're being denied that right. I don't want to get into a political argument about that, but that's my total belief. I don't know, going back to the Israeli news thing. I didn't read that, so I don't know about that, Lisa. And Judy, energy, COVID could be free. Excuse me. They don't care about it. See, that goes back to almost what Lisa just said about people of color. They don't have any use. They don't have any use for people who don't have money, white people even. But I see a trend more towards the Hispanic. I see a trend more towards our people of color, our black friends, our black brothers and sisters. I'm telling you what. Are they going to get the same kind of treatment? Are they going to get the medical treatment they need if they get the COVID virus? I think if you look population-wise per census, and correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows any different, but I think in our black communities, their health care is much worse than what white people are allowed to get. And I'm not trying to get into a discussion here that's going to, get people upset. But let me tell you something. We better face some facts. These are our brothers and sisters. We are all human. We all bleed red. We're born and we die. So, I mean, if you don't like what I'm saying, then I'm sorry for you. But, and then there's good and bad in all. I mean, there's just, when you look at white people, you're going to tell me there's no bad white people? Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. There's probably more white people per population capita than in prison and who are bad. Matter of fact, they're releasing people. One of them was a rapist, and he went out just recently and killed the girl that he raped, so she couldn't testify against him or whatever. I don't know what the total thing was, but I think they caught him, or they're still looking for him. I don't know, but this is just recently. Lori says, I know they just give chemo. I understand that's probably what they do. I don't know. My mother had cancer. I had a niece that had cancer, and she died. I had let's see. I've had sisters I had a sister that had cancer. Fortunately she lived. So yes, cancer is a very, very serious thing. Francesca, you're right about the money and the power. There are cures for cancer. It's all been about the money. I believe these new companies will reveal real cures soon. You know something? That's an interesting point, because if that happens, what's it going to do with the pharmaceutical company? President Trump just signed a bill to get prescriptions down to where they're affordable. Okay? That may not take place totally for at least a year. I'm using my words, but so many things get in the way whenever there's a bill that any president signs, not just President Trump. But there's a bill that gets in the way because Congress somehow or another, or somebody, pharmaceutical companies and their lobbyists. Do you realize that the pharmaceutical companies are lobbyists, and they are inside the House of Representatives and Congress, and they're just feeding these people the money right and left to party and have a good time, giving them gifts and you name it. I think we all missed our calling. We all should have been worked for as a representative or a congressperson, because guess what? We'd be sitting pretty, just like they are. They really don't care, or they would have not taken the break they're taking. The Democrats are taking a break right now. Instead of working on this coronavirus situation, they're taking a break. And right after that, the Republicans are taking a break. So if anybody, I'm using this as an example, people who are poor and need help to feed their children, even if it's for the stimulus check, they're not going to get it until sometime in September, if they do even get it then, because the House and the Senate can't come together on anything. Margaret Sanger is right. Thank you very much. She's the one that started the abortion clinics. And she did it by lying to the communities, the black communities. She went in and lied to them, and at that point in time when this happened, they believed her because they were having children that they couldn't even feed or take care of. So she stole them away that they could work. And now look what we've got. We've got abortion clinics all over. Anyway, Francesca, yes, Lisa, those some very wealthy families. Trump spoke about it a couple days ago when he's going against and said they're not happy with him, and they're not. And nobody knows how they get their money. Things are about to go down. You know something, Francesca? I'll tell you what the biggest problem is, and I'm going to say it like I feel it. You don't have to agree with me. Nobody has to agree with me on this one. But I'm going to tell you. They have been after Trump since before he was actually even in office, before he got elected. They were determined they were going to make sure he was impeached before he was even nominated. Now, I'm bringing that up because Trump has done, as far as I know, within his power, he has done everything he said he would try to do. He would build a wall, and that wall was not to keep the Hispanic people from Mexico out as much as it was to keep people from coming through South America and come into our country. And that was during the time when we were having issues with ISIS. He got rid of ISIS. He walked into China and says, look, you're ripping us off about tariffs. So he's bringing companies back in. Ford, General Motors, Amazon, Apple, they're bringing their jobs back into this country. Why are people saying he hasn't done anything for this country? Why? Now, and it's not that I'm touting him. I would say this if it were Obama had done it. Why are people jumping all over him and saying that he's nothing but a dictator and he's this, that, and something else? I wouldn't care if it was. It wouldn't matter who the president was. I would support the fact that they're trying to make people in America have jobs. The jobs right now are in jeopardy of leaving this country if Trump is not reelected. And I'm sorry if I'm upsetting you. And for those of you that want to leave, I can understand. But I respect your opinion. I just hope you will respect mine. And I'm done. I got off my political bandwagon there, and I didn't mean to. Anyway, Francesca, Trump is going against drug companies and the big banks. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That's why he's lowering prices. That's why he's lowering prices. Judy, they could come together, bailing out the rich corporations. You know something. You know something. It's funny how Congress does bail out the big companies. And then granted, we need the big companies. We don't want them going bankrupt because that puts people out of work. But you hit a nerve there, Judy, and because we are. But as the president says, we need the companies. So do we bail them out or do we let them go bankrupt? I remember. If anybody remembers when Chrysler had Lee Iacocca, and they were going out. He took over, and look what happened to Chrysler Corporation. Wow. So it can work if it's done right. And Judy, you made a very very good point. I'm going to go along with that. Bruno, or excuse me, Francesca. Yes. Um, I'm not sure what it was yes about, Francesca. I get on my rant and I forget. Lisa, one of I'm saying it's Glasgow Maxwell's sisters. Okay, I know who you're talking about. Married the son of the man who invented the pill. Is he not? Is this not one that people are saying that I don't know if this is true or not? That Fauci is also married. Dr. Fauci is also married to her sister, or something to that effect. Lisa, I mean, do you know anything about that? Does anybody know anything about that part? I want to make sure I'm not misleading anybody. Francesca, and the will to stop child trafficking, human trafficking. Oh my gosh. Oh, that is such a serious thing. And that goes back to, I think, where Lisa's at. I think, or as far as I might be wrong. Forgive me if I am. But with Epstein and this child trafficking and the people that might be involved, I'm hoping, praying that it's not people that have been running our country. I really am, because I can't imagine that be something that they would even be involved with. But I don't know. Judy says the television tells them what to do, what to hate. Bingo. Thank you. Somebody said it. Thank you, Judy. The media, TV, and I've said this over and over and over again, does not report news anymore. They tell us commentary, and they tell us what to believe. They give us their thinking. They give us what we're supposed to believe. And each network has its own little story. And I'll tell you what I saw the other day that made me really realize these are not news stations anymore. When President Trump, yesterday I believe it was, had his conference and he signed the executive orders, I saw one station on TV that aired it, and that was Fox. CNN did not. MSNBC, I did not see it. I did not see it on CBS, NBC, ABC. I did not see it on any other TV station. I didn't look at one or at Newsmax, and I didn't look at One America Now. But I'm telling you right now, we're being told their commentary. They all now, including Fox, all have these little groups of people to give their opinions. So we're supposed to buy into them. So Judy, you're absolutely right. And Francesca says no more bailouts. That hits a good nerve. I'm telling you, Francesca, because look at the bailouts that's happened just with the coronavirus. And look how many companies have been begging for money, but yet they don't like Trump. They don't like our government. And Francesca goes on to say, yes, they wanted to Trump out before he got in, and they did. That's true. Um, Francesca says Bill Clinton was just named. I did read that, Francesca. I'll be honest with you. I'm hoping that's not true. Because I think back and when Bill Clinton was president. Matter of fact, I even was at a press conference and I have not interviewed him, but I've asked him questions. I was at that press conference. Um, People were making money when Bill Clinton was in office. So you can't, I'm hoping this is not true, but I don't know. Um, Lisa says, I think it's a conspiracy about Fauci's wife. You're probably right, Lisa. That's why I said I hope somebody can straighten me out. And Judy says, program and stations, the TV program you. You know, it is. It's almost like hypnosis. It's almost like hypnosis. That we're being told what to say, what to do, what to think, what to eat, what to drink. You know, I mean, let's be real. It's just like pharmaceutical companies. They spend thousands and thousands and millions of dollars on telling you to buy this pill, that pill. That's you know, it's going to cure this, going to cure that. Doctors turn around and give it away because the pharmaceutical rep comes in and says, "Here, this is new. This is for this, that, something else." Doctor doesn't even know how to use it or doesn't know what it's going to do, but they're going to still give it to you and write you a prescription and say, "Try this for 30 days, see how you feel. And if you have any bad effects, you know, we'll take you off of it." Read the little insert. I'm not blaming doctors. I'm just saying doctors. If you want to know anything about medicine, you better talk to your pharmacist. See, they're going to tell you more than anybody else. Um, but yeah, programming us. We are being programmed. You're right. Francesca says I watched. It's true, and a lot worse. Are you referring to the Epstein situation, Francesca? I'm just asking. While you're thinking about that, or writing that, I want to get back to Pfizer because, look, uh, I'm going to give you some pricing real quick because before I go into this, let me say this: we need, as a people, to get some action going, writing to the White House, to the President, to Congress, to the House of Representatives, to each of your representatives. Write, call, tear the phones up. I don't care what you do to say that we want to make our own decisions about the virus. We do not. We're going to use common sense. If you want to wear a mask, you know you're going to wear a mask. If you feel that, if you feel that you might be at risk, you don't want to get the virus. If you have any underlying conditions, which people do, that should be your choice. It should not be something that's mandated. It is mandated if you go into buildings, and I think that's okay as far as I'm concerned. I can live with that. If I go into a convenience store down the road from where I live, and and people say you got to have a mask on before you come in, my mask is on. That's different. But being demanded and being told we are going to, or else, we need to start a movement. I don't care. I am not talking about something violent. I'm talking about we need to start a movement to get people involved in getting. We are the government. They are representing us. They're doing a heck of a poor job of doing it, as far as I'm concerned. So we need a movement. We need something that says, we are the people. We are the government. And if you don't agree with me on that, fine. But I think you should, because I think you do. You know that, unless you were not taught that in school, which a lot of people weren't. Let's see. I'm going to go back up here, make sure I didn't miss anybody. Francesca said, yes, I am referring to the Epstein situation. Judy, they started the flu shot so we could be ready for the all new vaccines with the little tracker, oh boy, tracer chip in it, changing our DNA in genetic. You know something, Judy, you've been doing a lot of studying, haven't you? Because you're right. It's absolutely right. They're preparing us. We're being prepared. We're being prepared for something more and more deeper. We're being prepared. Does anybody agree that we should start some kind of movement? Does anybody agree that something should happen? And I don't mean violent. I'm talking about that we need to really hammer even our state and federal representatives that we're not going to be demanded that we have to take the vaccine. We're not going to be told that we have to listen to Bill Gates. And Dr. Fauci, I don't trust half of what he says because he's changed his story so many times it's unreal. Francesca, what about the body? What about my body, my choice? Crap. It was all bull. Yeah, well, you're right about that. Lisa has it right there. This is the letter. I've signed this letter, and please read it, sign it. This is there's nothing bad about it, and it is a way that it's being sent to the White House, to the FDA, because at first I thought Hahn was somebody we couldn't trust from the FDA, but I think that he's come around because he feels that people should have the choice between the doctor and the patient as far as the HCQ, and I agree with that. I want to move on real quick here if I can, but yeah, please hit before we get done here, hit that that link and just fill it out, and that's it. Send it, and I think you just send it, and it'll go right to wherever it's supposed to go. The White House, and probably Congress, and the FDA. Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, Moderna prices coronavirus at up to $37 per dose. What will big customers get? Well, let me tell you, the Massachusetts biotech charging between $32 and $37 per dose for its RNA shot. Now, that's nearly twice as much as the $19.50 dose that Pfizer and partner BioNTech have agreed to offer the United States. And if early numbers from Johnson & Johnson, they're another one that's gotten in the picture. I didn't mention them before. That their agreement by any indication, but the company is charging the U.S. around $10 per dose. AstraZeneca also secured a $1.2 billion deal with the United States government for the development of this vaccine. The supply commitment is 300 million doses. I don't need to read the rest of this because AstraZeneca has cooperated with Sanofi and GSK, I mean. Moderna, whoops, sorry about that. Yeah, here we go. Novavax and Fujifilm lock up supply for late-stage COVID virus trial. You know, everybody I'm sorry about, I keep hitting the mic. I get so upset. They don't give any pricing. Yeah, they do. The arrangement was funded through a $1.6 billion grant from the Trump administration, Warp Speed. So that's more money. I don't know where it's all coming from. Let me see. I highlighted something here. Back in April, Fujifilm pledged to devote some of its manufacturing capacity in Denmark for treatment to be used to identify the Gates-funded COVID-19 Therapeutics Accelerator. That's where Bill Gates fits in. Okay? Now, I'm going to skip this next one. Because it's basically just it's saying how much they are. We're talking about billions of dollars that these companies are getting. Billions. But here's the one I want you to hear. Pfizer CEO says it's radical to suggest pharma should forego profits on COVID-19 vaccine. And I'm going to sum it up very, very simple. Pfizer's latest comments come amid a growing debate about whether biopharma companies deserve to profit from the products they are developing and to end the COVID-19 pandemic. Both Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca have vowed to take a not-for-profit approach. My hat's off to them. They've said they don't want to do it. But Pfizer, among them, have stopped short by echoing that pledge. And here's what they say. Pfizer is far from the only company under the spotlight of the COVID vaccine pricing strategy. Moderna, which is a U.S. company, has taken federal funding to support R&D and may price vaccine between $50 and $60 per course, according to the confirmed report that emerged earlier this week, that it could translate to $30 per shot, and a price promoted the U.S. representative to the company pursuing sky-high profits. Now, but here we go. Here's what's so mind-blowing. Barola said recently that Pfizer was aiming for a marginal profit on the vaccine, but under the U.S. government deal of 1.3 billion doses priced at $19.50 each would translate to a whopping $3 billion of sales for Pfizer after the BioNTech split. Baron's analytics calculated that this is as much as Pfizer best-selling cholesterol drug Lipitor hauled in at its peak. What's happening here is he's saying they didn't take any federal money for the development work for the vaccine. But he's really saying, nevertheless, the company could pull off a decent profit for the COVID vaccine. That's the whole game right there. It's money. And here is one that says the U.S. just bought 400 million doses of corona vaccine that may never exist. And this is from the Global Economic Descriptions. I don't need to go into this. Can you imagine that we bought 400 million doses of coronavirus vaccine that may never exist? That doesn't even make sense. That does not even make sense. You know, it's hard to imagine anything could matter more to the future and the present on a global economy than to have a coronavirus vaccine. And the U.S. is betting hard that one is going to be available soon. The president is hoping there's going to be one available soon, even though he took the HCQ, hydroxychloroquine. And he says he hopes the vaccine will be ready and widespread, by the end of the year, if not earlier. And I think I got to tell you, maybe I'm wrong about this, and you can correct me if I am. But I think that what's happened is when President Trump was taking the hydroxychloroquine, he got so much flack from the media that he backed off of it, even though I think he still believes in it. He backed off of it and has been touting the vaccine. And it's just only my guess because I can't get inside the head of the president. Nobody can. But that's just my opinion that he backed off of that because of the bad. He's been getting bad press about everything he does, so it doesn't matter. Lisa, because you can contact your doctor to yourself to have access of HCQ. Yes, and that's what that letter is for as well. And I did talk to my doctor, and he said it would depend on the case, but he didn't rule it out by all means because I'm not taking anybody's shot that has not been proven to be that what any long-term effect or damage it might be doing. And that is just like people who talk about their children getting vaccines that have maybe caused autism or whatever, and they try to claim it doesn't. I don't know. Audrey says get some zinc and some tonic water. Well, I got some zinc, but I got a Diet Pepsi. Does that count, Audrey? Okay, Neil, stop joking. Judy says, wow. You're right, Judy. This whole thing, 400 million doses of corporate vaccines, coronavirus vaccines, may never exist. The pharma giants that have struck to supply 100 million doses, as a candidate, if the shot is cleared by the FDA, the U.S. government is committing just over $1 billion under the agreement for a price per dose of about $10. Okay? Audrey, wait a minute. Audrey, wait. No, no, I know what you're talking about. I can't have my Diet Pepsi. All right. Lisa, Stephen Hahn has said he won't approve a vaccine that isn't safe. I'm glad to hear that because the only thing last I heard about Stephen Hahn, Lisa, was the fact that he was just not, that I understood that he was not in favor of the HCQ. But he, at this point now, has said, I believe, if I'm wrong, correct me, he's now going along with the idea that a 14-day is between the doctor and the patient. He has said very clearly the FDA is not in the prescription business to tell you what you can and cannot take or to dictate what the limit is, but he is recommending that you follow your doctor, talk over with your doctor, and go with the 14-day or whatever that's now available in whatever state you live in. Francesca, India and the Gates Foundation should tell people something. Oh, yes, and India, yeah, you're right, because they are involved with the Gates Foundation or vice versa. Under the Johnson & Johnson deal that stimulates manufacturing in the U.S., the feds could later buy another 200 million doses under a separate agreement. And the company previously won a $446 million in funding to support it. Where is this money all coming from? I mean, we as taxpayers? Well, I'm going to tell you yes. Because they're going to get us one way or another. You think we're going to get off scot-free? We're not. You got companies like uh, that have lower price dose of $4 for AstraZeneca and higher figure of $19.50 for Pfizer. So at least AstraZeneca is saying, hey, we're not looking for the profit as much as we are the cure. I mean, nothing is free. We know that. Nothing is free. But I think this is a little ridiculous for Pfizer to jump. And Pfizer is a German company. But that doesn't mean I'm against Germans. It's all about the money. It's definitely all about the money. I'm telling you as I see it. I hope maybe you don't agree with me. Um, Audrey says, and make sure that the tonic water has quinine in it. I want to ask you a question about the quinine because I have read and I've heard in some cases, Audrey, and again, I apologize if I'm fading away when I move away from my mic. But let me ask you a question. Because I've heard that quinine can itself be certain types of quinine or whatever. I'm not sure because I'm not that familiar with quinine. I'm really not. But is there a possibility of quinine being harmful to a person's body, like kidneys or liver or whatever the case might be? Tonic water we know is pretty safe. It's just a tonic water, and people use it with just like maybe a lemon or a lime, whatever, however they like it. Some people use it for tonic and what is it, gin or something? I don't know. I don't drink, so I don't know. Anyway, maybe you can answer that for me. I had more to cover tonight, but I don't want to get into too much more because there was one that I wanted to find if I could remember where it's at. I've got so much information, it's unreal. You really wouldn't believe it. These are stories that have been come out and since the coronavirus. It really is. It's been since the coronavirus. Okay, it's important to say that Dr. Hahn said it should be between the doctor and the patient, but we need to keep pushing to higher delegation, or is that right? Am I saying it? Oh, deregulation, excuse me, of the HCQ. That's why I want you to, when you're done, again, to post that link if you would, even on this site. It's fine on my site, on my homepage. I don't care where you, because I want people to get on that if you would. Hey, Keith Coons, thank you for joining us. Thanks, and you have a good night yourself. I appreciate you taking part and being and listening in, and I hope you learned something that might give you some information that's helpful. You have a safe night as well, Keith. Let's see what else we got here. This article is hydroxychloroquine one more time, and it's proven inevitable fact that if given early, HCQ given with zithromycin, Z-Pak, and zinc will cure coronavirus. Doctors all over have talked about this, but doctors are being told to shut up, and they're taken off the air. They're not even allowed to talk. They're not allowed to speak. They're not allowed. Dr. Gold got fired from 2 hospitals. And they did a roundtable interview. I watched it. I don't know if any of the rest of you saw it or watched it. But I'm telling you right now, all the doctors involved said there are more ways than you can imagine. Like, for instance, wearing a mask is not necessarily something that you have to do. Out of politeness, maybe, of other people. Keeping clean your hands. That's common sense. what they're saying is use common sense. And the HCQ over 65 years, I want to know one thing. How many of you know anybody, whether they've had lupus, whether they've had malaria, or even their arthritis? How many people have been killed or died because of the HCQ? Can anybody give me a clue? Can anybody give me any kind of idea? I'd love to know. Because I haven't heard of anybody. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to be putting words in anybody's mouth, but it seems to me that Dr. Hahn and even her colleagues that were on the round table, and especially the lady from Nigeria, I love her. Oh my gosh, she's hilarious, and she tells them, bring it on, bring it on. She'll take care of them, and she's referring to anybody that wants to disagree with her, including the doctors or government or whoever. This woman is fantastic. I tell you what, she's just great. Anyway, my point is, who knows of anybody? Nobody can answer that because I don't think there is an answer. I don't even know if you can look it up. How many people have died because of hydroxychloroquine since it's been out for 65 years? Now, maybe if it's an overdose, like what they're saying, you can get it. You can get it with 400 milligrams or whatever they call it, twice a day or whatever. Well, that'd kill anybody. You can do that with aspirin. You can do that with most anything. You take enough of anything, it'll kill you. You know, I've read people that have drank, 2 or 3 liters of cola of any kind in a day's time, and eventually killed them. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, it's called common sense. And if you're treated with common sense before at the beginning of any stages or any thoughts or any testing that shows that you have the virus, then why not let the doctor and the patient say, hey, let's give this a shot. Let's, send me home. Don't go to a hospital with it, because you may never come out, because they'll put a ventilator in you, and you know what happens after that. Most people that I've heard on ventilators, it takes a long time if they ever come off of it. That's only from what I've heard and read. I'm not the expert. But I'm going to tell you something. I didn't get into a few things that I wanted to get into, but I did really want to get into Pfizer, because I think Pfizer is really trying to rip people off. And I hope whoever made the deal with them, with Pfizer for the United States, I hope that they back off that deal. I could see AstraZeneca, and I could see maybe even Moderna, as far as the United States buying from. How long is it going to be before we are going back to what I said about the states, that you can be forced? How long is it going to be before we become a dictatorship country? And don't tell me we already are because Trump's in office, because I'm not going there. I'm not going to get into that discussion. I would get into that discussion on another night on a political night, if you want to do that, because I'm going to tell you right now, I fear if Biden, and I feel so sorry that Biden is being possibly in early stages. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but something's happening. And I'm sad about that, because that you don't want to see anybody go through that. But I will tell you this: if Biden is elected, he will not run this country. He will have the squad who hate America, and yet they're in office trying to dictate to America. He'll have Bernie Sanders, who is a known socialist, at least he admits it, but the United States is not, if you want to be a socialist, go to a socialist country. That's just my opinion. And we'll get into that discussion at another time. In the meantime, my gosh, we're coming up to the 2 hour time. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me tonight. Thank you all for your comments. Please share this video, share it with your friends, and let's look forward to our next show. We may do a part 5, but I'm not sure. I'll let you know ahead of time. And in the meantime, Lisa says, on the war room pandemic yesterday, Dr. Zelenko said you could call the internet doctor like, wait a minute, like telemed, and you can send it out in 24 hours. I'm not sure what it was. Judy Whiting says Hillary will be running the country. You know, Hillary's getting quite involved. You're right about that, Judy. She's still upset because she thinks she was president because of, and I heard something today that I didn't really know if I should believe it or not, but I did hear that the Democrats do want to do away with electoral college. If that happens, our elections are done, because people in the Midwest, it'll be California, New York, Florida, whatever, your bigger states will decide any presidential type election. Anyway, Audrey says HTQ has quinine in it. The doses of tonic water is not as much as in HCQ. Tonic water was used historically by the British Army to fight malaria. Okay, hey, that's good. That's good information. Thank you, Audrey. Francesca, good night, Neil. Bill Barr is on Mark 11 right now. Hey, that sounds great. Ladies and gentlemen, you've all been wonderful. Thanks so much for being so patient and so willing to stay with me. I hope you all have a great night. And I'll be reposting this video so that others that might not have had a chance to see it will get a chance to see it. In the meantime, until next time. Wait a minute. Oh, never mind. I guess I got them all. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anybody. But in the meantime, be safe. Be careful. God bless all of you. God bless America. Good night. This is Neil Douglas, American Truth Finders. Talk to you next time.